Welcome to another edition of Park Talk Podcast, the official podcast of the Naperville Park District.
Hi everyone, I'm Sue Omenson. Science is confirming what we know intuitively. Getting outside makes us feel better, especially when you can get away from traffic and concrete and head out to a nearby woods or field or garden. In this series, we'll talk about ways to just get out and experience nature. Today, I'm happy to welcome Bob Langerveld, a local runner who works at Naperville Running Company in downtown Naperville and enjoys running outdoors year-round, even in the winter. We'll give you some ideas about where to run in Naperville and some of the special benefits of running trails in winter. And special thanks to Naperville Running Company for their partnership in helping with the cost of snow removal on one of our major trails. So what motivates you to get out there on the trails when it's really cold and you might not feel like it?
I find winter is a time where we spend a lot of time indoors here in the Chicagoland area. And for me, if I stay inside too long, it just, for lack of a better term, starts to snowball. And a body not in motion tends to not stay in motion. So I find that the ability to run outside for a while, even in the winter, kind of gets me going again. It feels more normal. You know, running outside in the summer with the heat and humidity, a lot of times can be tough. But in the winter, I almost always feel exhilarated when I finish a run. But one of the other advantages to me is it's a time when I get to be with my running group and my friends. You know, otherwise, like say we're trapped to the house, being with them is a great motivator just to actually get out there and provide the social interaction that might be missing during the winter months. And one of the other things that keeps me motivated in the winter is thinking about running in the spring. What I mean by that, I look forward to it, but what I mean by it is how would my running go in the spring if I didn't continue to run in the winter? And unfortunately, I know how that feels because when I first started running, I would run through the fall till just before Thanksgiving, basically, and then, shut down until spring. And you throw Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that comes with that, and have weight gain and lose a lot of my fitness, and getting back out in the spring was just very hard. So continuing to run in the winter will help any runner maintain their level of performance year round.
Oh, very good point. Yeah. Do you have any tips for staying safe, say on our Naperville trails when you run in the winter?
Yeah, I would say the biggest tip is to be aware of your footing. It's my biggest worry when I run outside in the winter, whether it's snow, slush, or ice. It can all create fall hazards. Sure. Obviously, ice being the worst. Running in the snow, especially if it's only a couple inches, is usually pretty nice. Yeah. But I would say check out the trails if you can ahead of time. Go out and walk them, or even one of the trails, the DuPage River Trail along Royce Road. You can just drive Royce Road and you can see it off in the distance and get an idea of what the trail conditions are. I would try invest in shoes that have good traction. Some obviously have better traction than others. There are shoes out there that are Gore-Tex shoes. They're not trail running shoes like you would wear on a rough, rocky trail, but they have better traction and they're waterproof. And then there's a product out there called Yak Tracks.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah, combination of rubber and different metals that are kind of like snow chains for your shoes. You pull them over your shoes. They don't cover like galoshes. They're open. Right. But they provide excellent grip in most conditions. One of the other hazards is visibility. A lot of runners run before work or after work or morning or evening. Well, in the winter, we don't have a lot of daylight. So sometimes we're out on our runs and it's dark or it's cloudy. There's some snowfall. Everything's gray and you kind of blend into the surroundings. So other runners, bikers, or if you're running on the street, motorists have a hard time seeing you. I'd recommend a reflective vest, or there's a lot of products out there. There's with lights, headlamps, tail lamps, flashing strobes you can wear, anything to increase that visibility.
Good point.
Yeah. And then again, when conditions are too bad, move inside. It's not my favorite place to run, but there's times you do have to move inside.
Sure. Where in Naperville are your favorite places to run?
Well, I have three that kind of my go-tos. The DuPage River Trail, I start at Wygant Park, and our group usually starts there, and we'll either run north towards Veterans Park, sometimes all the way to Veterans Park and back, depending on how far we're going. Or we'll go south through Knocknalls Park and along DuPage River Trail to and around Wayland Lake. Another one I like is Springbrook Prairie. I really enjoy that trail. I always seem to run a little better there for some reason. I don't know why, but I like that. And I like the trail just east of Route 59 at Frontier.
Yeah, Frontier Sports Complex.
Yeah, I like that. I usually start right there in the parking lot for Naperville Running Company, and you can do repeats on the bridge if you want to get hills. I do tend, when I run there, that is normally where I'll do like pickups, where I'll do a little bit of speed work because it's nice and straight.
Right.
It's not the longest trail, so to try to go out and do a real long run, but if you're doing mile repeats, it's easy to start there at the bridge and run out a mile and then stop, get your rest, and do your repeat back. They all have little differences, in them that make them better for certain runs, for me at least.
Sure. Have you been able to see animals and birds this winter, or are there places that are especially beautiful for you?
So, yeah, we almost always see animals on our runs. Whether it's deer, rabbits, squirrels, we've seen possum out there, ducks, geese, heron. We've also seen the occasional coyote or fox. Those we mostly see at Springbrook.
Interesting, okay.
Especially the coyotes in the early morning runs, like just before sunrise. We'll see them out there. They don't hang around. They take off, quicker than we do. The deer, though, the deer across from Knocknalls Park, we see them all along the river when we run north. And right after we cross Washington, by the sports complex there, usually just past that, there's deer. And a lot of times they'll just stand, right next to the trail and watch us like, what are you guys doing out here? They don't leave. It's really cool to be out there. And almost every time we have to stop, and watch them and look and then take off again. Yeah, and as far as the beauty, they're all beautiful trails. The landscaping and the trees. DuPage River Trail, especially when we run north, where it's along the river, and you have the sounds of the river and the trees. You can see a little further in the winter because the trees have lost all their green. But especially in the summer or spring, when the trees are filled in, even though Washington is right there, you don't feel like you're near, civilization at all. I really like that. And then there's a stretch on the DuPage River Trail right after Knocknalls Park where you cross a bridge and you climb into hills before you get to the sports complex. That's a very nice area. That's where we see a lot of deer in that area.
So you said you've been running with the club for over 10 years. How did you first get interested in running?
I ran off and on my entire life, mostly off. But then a few years after I retired from the Air Force in 1996. And a few years after that, my weight had creeped up to almost 230 pounds. I was feeling miserable about it, lethargic, but I really wasn't doing anything about it either. But I was also coaching my sons in Park District sports, soccer and basketball. And my first grader, Nick, my youngest son, we were finishing the last basketball game of the season. We're walking back to the car, and I'm telling him, you had a great season, you got a lot of exercise. He looked at me and said, "Yeah, Dad, but what do you do?" And I was like, wow. Wow. And it just, he was absolutely 100% right. I was talking the talk, but I wasn't walking the walk. I wasn't doing anything that showed him that exercise was important. And that was the catalyst. The next day I went out after dark and ran around the block. That's as far as I could go. Just kept at it. Every night, go out, run around the block, then eventually add another block, start to try to pick up information, see there's 5Ks, there's other things you can do.
Yeah.
And that's just
and that
got me
launched
interested. That launched it, got me interested. And I would say, races and my friends are what has kept me interested,
Oh, that's really good to hear. What, off the top of your head, would you say are the best benefits from running?
Weight control for me. Like I said, I struggled after I got out of the Air Force with that. Endurance, just overall general endurance. My mental outlook. When I get outside and run, especially, not on the street, on a trail, it just lifts you up, just makes you feel so much better.
What advice might you have for someone who might be listening and thinking, I would like to start running?
First thing is to get a good assessment, fit assessment of your feet. Use that to then buy a good, appropriate running shoe, a shoe that's kind of geared towards you. The foot and the shoe is the foundation of all running. Everything else is, while might maybe necessary, is an add-on, but you definitely need good shoes. Start easy. Don't go too far, too fast, too soon. And find some friends or a running group to run with. It makes it so much more enjoyable, especially for the beginner runner. There's just so much to learn. Just seek that information and enjoy it. Enjoy running.
Thank you for listening. The Naperville Park District's mission is to provide park and recreation experiences that promote healthy lives, healthy minds, and a healthy community. Park Talk Podcast is a production of the Naperville Park District.